Put the scissors down, sis. We can talk about this. Hey loves, in today's video, I will be talking about transitioning tips. Now, this is for those of you who are struggling because you're trying to grow out your perm or a texturizer, color damage, heat damage, anything that you're transitioning from in your journey and you're just trying to get back to healthy hair. This video is for you. For those of you that are new, welcome. I would love for you to click the subscribe button down below. For those of you that are not new here, welcome back. These are some tips that I wish that I had known before I had started transitioning. Some of them I did know beforehand and it definitely helped. And my notes are over here. I'm looking at my laptop because I wrote them all down. So excuse me if I keep looking to the side. So my first tip is to handle your hair gently, especially around the line of demarcation. Now, for those of you that don't know what that is, when you're going natural or you're transitioning rather, there is a spot right in between your natural hair and the hair that you are transitioning from. And this is where both of those two textures meet. Now, the hair is very fragile there, being that they're two different textures being joined together. So it is very easy for the hair to break off at this spot. So you want to be very, very careful when you're handling your hair and you're styling it. And I've witnessed it for myself. There has been times where my hair has fallen out literally at the line of demarcation. Tip number 2 is to use light products. Because you are transitioning and your hair is two different textures, there is the aspect of porosity that goes into this. So basically, if your hair is highly porous, the hair cuticles are constantly open. Now, that makes it very easy for the hair to absorb the moisture, and it is just as easy for the hair to release that same moisture that you put in it. If you're transitioning, your hair is highly porous at the ends where the hair has been damaged, whether it be by chemicals of any sort or heat. So you're just gonna find that you're gonna have to probably do your hair a couple times a week because you have to moisturize. Now, back to what I said about using light products. You're gonna have to use light products because it is going to be weighed down if you use heavy products. Now, personally, I cannot recommend products anymore. What I used to use when I was transitioning was CANTU, but I used the leave-in repair cream. I do not use that product anymore, being that there is rubbing alcohol in that. If you have not seen the video and you don't understand what that means for your hair, I will make sure to link the video above and down below for you. The only time I would say you should use a heavy product is if you're going to protective style. You're probably going to want to use like a spray leave-in or a leave-in cream that's very, very light. You're going to want to use light oils because oils are going to seal in the moisture, and if they seal in the moisture on the highly porous ends and you're using heavy products, your natural hair, your roots are going to be all right, but your ends are going to be so heavy, they're going to flop, literally. So my third tip is to preserve your styles to prevent over manipulation. If this goes back to my first tip about handling your hair gently at the line of demarcation. If your hands are always in your hair is going to break off. If you're doing like twist outs, perm rod sets, or whatever it is, braid outs, please just try to preserve that style for as long as possible. Because my next tip is optional. I personally did not do this. Caught up on this video really late. It was after I had big chopped and all of that, but it was on Journey to Wavelength's channel. She used to style her hair while I was transitioning. She styled it only when it was blow dried, and that made perfect sense to me. Basically, your hair is weaker when it's wet, and that goes for all hair types. Your hair is already fragile when you're transitioning, and then you're wetting it, it's even more fragile. If you feel like, you know, you're trying to do your hair when it's wet and you're noticing some breakage, I would recommend trying to go in with a blow dryer and then styling it when it is blow dried. Just don't wet your hair too much when you're styling it, and you should be good to go. When you're blow drying it, you're not gonna want to apply the heat directly. I would personally recommend the tension method. Just be super careful when you're dealing with heat and transitioning hair. Now, another thing that you can do while transitioning, and I personally wish that I had made use of this, was protective styling. Do not keep the same protective style in for too long. In my personal opinion, you should not be going past a month depending on the style, and maybe even you could do 2 months. But even that to me is stretching it, because your hair, the moisture that you put in your hair beforehand is only going to last but so long. You need to be tending to your hair, and it needs to be re-moisturized and deep conditioned and all that good stuff at some point. Make sure you're moisturizing properly beforehand. Do not get anything that's too tight, or you know that's not actually protective, where you're going to be flat ironing your actual hair all the time just to keep up with the hair that you got, or you're twisting it all the time because it's curly hair and you know your leave out's got to match. Just protective style the correct way. The next tip is to keep your hair moisturized. Keep it moisturized overall. Like I said, your hair, the ends can get really dry. You have to keep up with that, or else your hair will break, or it's just gonna look crusty. There's just no point in continuing transitioning if you can't keep up with both textures of your hair. And it's hard, but if this is something you want, you've got to work for it. This has to be one of the most important tips, hands down. Make sure you are deep conditioning. Deep conditioning is so essential to your natural hair journey in general, because there are things in deep conditioners that regular products cannot give you. A regular conditioner or a leave-in conditioner cannot provide you with. Deep conditioners have the power to give you intense moisture or protein that your hair needs. My next tip is to stay away from heat. If you're choosing to blow dry your hair, like I said, every time you're styling, that's not exactly what I'm talking about, because it's hard to get your hair to be one texture while you are transitioning. It is so tempting to want to straighten it just so everything can be uniform and you don't have to really think. You know, you throw your hair up and you're good to go, or you brush your hair down and you're good to go. Trust me, I've been there. I straightened my hair, I want to say maybe 3 times in total during my transitioning journey. And when I say I regret that bad boy, I regret it. This next tip is also very vital. You're going to want to trim your hair every few months. If you're transitioning, the purpose of you transitioning is to eventually have healthier hair. So you need to let go of the damaged ends. Now, you don't have to cut it every month. Me personally, I cut my hair every 2 months. You also don't have to transition for just a few months. You can chop off all of your damaged ends when you're ready. However, make sure, if you're noticing that you can't keep up with your 2 textures and the permed ends are just dropping off like flies, girl, that's where I was at a year and 5 months. My hair just couldn't hold on to those permed ends anymore. And sometimes you will realize that your hair gets there and it's not always your fault. It's just that your hair cannot handle it anymore, and you know that's okay. Like, once you realize that your hair is reaching that point, if it gets to that point, please just save yourself the trouble and cut it off. Now, these last 2 tips are just as important, maybe even more so, than deep conditioning. So it's pretty serious. Want to be patient. Keeping up with 2 textures is hell. Transitioning is hard and it's frustrating, and it's like, like sometimes you just want to reach for the scissors and chop everything off. But listen, transitioning, if this is what you want to do, it is worth it. It takes time to see the results of transitioning, just like it would take time to see the results of big chopping. Okay, don't rush your hair will grow. Now, my final tip, and this is extremely important, the people that are trying to discourage you, please pay them no mind. I transitioned when that wasn't the cool thing to do, and I used to have people all the time like, ooh, why don't you just straighten it? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And basically, if I had listened to anyone, I'm telling y'all, I wouldn't be where I am today as far as my hair is concerned. And now those same people that used to laugh are now always trying to touch my hair and, oh girl, what hair products do you use? I'm trying to go natural. I don't want a big chop. Like, can you help me out? I'm telling you, the same people that used to look at me like I am crazy wish they had my hair. They say it to me all the time. Either that or they followed after me and they're now natural because they saw my hair do good and they're like, you know what? That's actually kind of popping. I say all that to say, please don't let people discourage you. And I promise you, you will have one or two people that will. I mean, there's more people that are natural now, but you will have people that are still trying to tell you what to do with your hair and what works best for your hair. If you're doing your thing and you notice that it is working for you, don't let anybody mess that up. Anyway, I hope you guys found this video helpful. I hope it wasn't too long for you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Like, if you notice some of these tips don't work, switch it out, or, you know, modify it, make it your own. Comment on your thoughts about transitioning or your experience with it, or if you didn't transition, why didn't you transition? Like, let's make this a discussion. Like, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.